Hello there, divine loving greetings. It's me, Alora. Welcome back to Spiritually Awkward. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back. It's me, Alora, and I welcome you back to my channel. Well, here on the channel, we always talk about very deep and spiritual topics, and even sometimes about conspiracy theories that we know are actually true. I thought that this time we could do something a little bit more on the lighthearted side. And with that, I present one of my rare celebrity reading videos. And we're going to do this subject on the two most famous brothers that are trending everywhere right now and a lot in the past, Jake and Logan Paul. Okay, so let's start with Jake Paul, because I really felt compelled to do this reading based upon having come across his picture first. And I want to tell you a little bit about my own history with Logan and Jake Paul before we go into the rest of the video, because I don't want to be misleading in making everyone think that because I've chose the two of them that I am an extreme fan of theirs. So firstly, I came across the Paul brothers when they were really, really small, and they first started their career on YouTube. My daughter used to watch them all the time, and she would show me videos that they had up, and, you know, as a parent, I would be sitting there and, you know, just kind of checking it out and not really finding myself too interested in it, but doing it for her. Then came the infamous video where Logan had gone into the suicide forest, and there was a lot of controversy that came from that. And that was when it kind of caught my attention a little bit more, because I was always very fascinated with the suicide forest myself, having known, you know, spiritually what goes on there. I actually was planning to do a trip to the suicide forest myself, and I had gotten in touch with some of the different paranormal societies that were on television, really trying to find new and exciting places to visit that they could do their investigations on and their research with. And I had messaged someone, I don't want to say who, and asked them if they were interested in going out to the suicide forest, and I wanted to go. And there was like this little bit of a question mark up in the air of my attending, but that didn't turn out quite how I had hoped, because there were a lot of other things going on where I probably couldn't have done it anyway. And so that idea just kind of went out the window. In the meantime, I saw, you know, some of them had gone with that idea, and then there was the video from Logan Paul, and I thought to myself, well, you know, that's really synchronistic, because it was all happening around the same time that I was pushing toward wanting to visit there. And that's when I really started to pay attention to their material. So after that, you know, it died down. I really hadn't shown much interest. I didn't watch their videos. I never, you know, really got involved with that. But just recently, I had heard that Logan and Jake were starting to get involved in the sports world, and they had this boxing match, and now Logan being involved with the WWE and Jake getting involved with boxing and MMA. And so that really intrigued me, because from YouTube to Hollywood and Disney and now into the sports world, you know, that's a really huge jump that they took, getting themselves to the top where they're at today. And so within myself, as I have the ability to do, I wanted to sit back and really take a look at them spiritually, individually, to see, you know, are they really going to keep with this great amount of fame? Are they going to continue doing well with it? You know, basically what's going to happen with the Paul brothers over time. We're going to start with where they're at right now, and then we're going to move on into the future and see what ultimately happens to them then. Let's start with Jake, and we'll move into Logan afterwards. And the first thing that I want to start with is that Jake seems to have this brilliant, deep mind where he just overanalyzes things, he overthinks things. He's very creative too, but he has this world of intelligence inside. And sometimes there are so many thoughts that he doesn't really know who he can really express them to. And that's why having the two brothers always working together, really made them, because they were close and they were able to exchange their ideas together and be that force behind one another, out of the only two people that they really could trust. But with Jake, I do see that he is moving forward and trying to push his career, but there is always like this shadow over him, because we know that Logan seems to be the one that's always ahead. So what I see for Jake Paul is that, he has a lot of thoughts and feelings within himself that get to him after a while. He's into the partying scene quite a bit. And when his brother's kind of taking off, that always makes him feel obligated to put himself out there too, because he wants to still maintain that position right beside or right behind his brother so he doesn't kind of fade out. And Logan continues to ascend into this limelight, which they've already reached. So he doesn't want to give up the limelight. In other words, he doesn't want to be less successful than his brother. And so he continues to come up with new ideas to put himself always right behind him as his brother moves up. He's always there with something new and creative to get himself out there to move up. And what I really like about them is that they're doing this with things that they have a true interest in, such as boxing and fighting and so on. So they don't want to just be a comedic duo of brothers on YouTube. They want to be recognized for something so much more, something so much more serious, something that really shows the world their own inner talent and abilities. And for him, this particular sport that he's gotten involved in is so perfectly fitting for him, because believe it or not, he actually does have inner aggressive side. There's this emotion that lives within him that he doesn't even always understand, that comes up, and it just really gets him fired up for some reason. And he's the type that doesn't like to take anything off of anybody, and he won't. It doesn't matter how big they are or how famous they are. He's never going to back down from anything, because he has that much confidence within himself. He's definitely not somebody that suffers from any kind of low self-esteem, from his appearances or anything like that. His insecurities are coming from just from that aspect of needing to stay right beside his brother in having the same amount of fame. And the truth is, even when his brother is growing, even if he wasn't, he still would, because his brother's right there, always growing. They're not just a one name comes with the other. So it's never just going to be Logan Paul, always, never going to be just Jake Paul. It's always going to be Jake and Logan Paul, because they're so closely associated with one another. So it doesn't matter what either one does, they're always going to have that light shine right behind them back on the other. So I also get that right now, with the sports world and other things that he is trying to build for himself, that they're not going to really work out the way that he really wants it to. I do see him getting his foot in there. He is kind of pushing forward to try to be honored and respected on a serious level for it, but it's not going to happen the way that he truly dreams. He wants to become at the top of his field and be respected like some of the greats, but that's not going to take place, because what I can see is that a lot of his lifestyle is going to start to become very conflicted with his choices in trying to build himself up into superstardom. And what that means is that he does party quite a bit. There's a lot going on that's being offered to him to keep him happy, things that he likes to do to keep himself occupied recreationally. And that's going to end up really overwhelming him, that overindulgence, to where it starts to change him a little bit, and you will hear, more stories about him getting into fights and running into trouble a lot more as the future starts to go forward. I also can see, that there is a great amount of heartache that he has because, he really is very loyal and faithful to his family. But as far as really finding somebody for himself that he can have this very deep bond with, that like what he has with his brother, that being that his brother's the only person he can trust, the only person that understands him, the only person that he really gets along with, even though they fight, he's looking for that special somebody, that companionship that he can have that same exact best friendship with. But he hasn't found it because most people are only really after his fame, his money, his name. And that's something that he doesn't really want to take a risk with anymore, because for him, he's already very overwhelmed by everything that is in his corner. He feels trapped and he feels stuck because now he's got himself so much out there that he has to always continue up with it. And again, always trying to be equal with his brother, it makes it so that he feels obligated to always have to be a part of something, even though there is this part of him that kind of just wants to step back sometimes and take a breather from it. I also can see that he does suffer from a lot of different things within the mental aspect of himself, meaning he's got that very deep thinking mind, and so with over analyzing things, it kind of takes him into a whole brand new trail of thought, which sometimes can even go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, sometimes leading him into like overthinking things in a negative sense. And that can be very troubling for him, probably why he's involved with partying and the recreation and then the sports with the fighting, because it's an outlet and form of escape for him to get away from that. Now, I do see that he is going to have some level of success, and that's going to be based on his own better judgment after some of that happens, and he starts to kind of get it in his mind that he has to come toward the public eye a little differently, perhaps maybe even reinvent himself and get away from some of that overindulgent activity. And once he does, and he's learned a very, very extreme lesson, because I do see there will be some legal trouble on the horizon for him, that's when he'll really kind of come to his senses of what he needs to do with his life, with his world, to make it better. And that will be where his true niche comes in, where he finds a part of his true self that he can share with the world that will escalate him, into the public eye with a great deal of respect. So while he may be kind of like in the shadow, he's not going to always be in the shadow. He's going to come out and he's going to have that spotlight shining very, very brightly upon himself at some point in time. All right, so we'll come back to him. Let's go into Logan a little bit and talk about his future. Now, he is an absolute go-getter. He's all about taking action, getting things done. He comes up with these ideas, hugely creative and inspiring individual. Like if you could talk to him and have him bring down that face that he has for his character, as a celebrity, and really talk to him on a very, very deep, serious level, you would see that he's one of the most inspiring people that you could get to know. But he's also filled with a great deal of heartache, and that stems from childhood, and also in feeling like there's always this need to kind of prove himself and also to achieve, because in his mind, he's not just doing it for himself, he's doing it for his mother as well. Now, he has a lot of projects up in the air, and he doesn't want to get distracted. He wants to continue going forward with what he's doing, but there are a lot of enemies around Logan that he needs to be very well aware of, and it's very scary because those enemies are so close to him that he doesn't even really realize it. And that's probably the scariest enemy that you can have, are the ones that are so close to you that they have that ability to affect you or do something, and so secretly that you would probably never even know. And so he has to watch his back with the people that he allows in his life, the people that he trusts. And that also includes women too, because he too has this lack of trust with women, because he doesn't want people to be with him because of fame and money. And it is going to be really hard for him to discern whether it's real or not. And it's going to play with his mind a lot in relationships. So it's better for him to keep a clear head, just to kind of focus on his passions and what he's trying to achieve, than to get invested in any relationship right now. So I also can see, that some of the projects that he's hoping for will expand aren't going to turn out the way that he truly hopes them to either, because those enemies for both Jake and Logan are the people, again, closest to him, people that they know, even in the areas that they work for, such as, the boxing world, the sporting world, the WWE industry, and things like that, that because they're from YouTube, because they're so invested in those things, the people that are officially a part of all of that don't really respect them in that world with them. And so enemies do exist there too. And so I don't see that the WWE is going to carry him very far, that he's going to become like the next Roman Reigns or, the next Undertaker. That's just not going to happen. He's going to do this for a little while, and then he's going to find that he's had enough. And he's going to want to move on to the next project, because what they're trying to do is live their dreams and do a little bit of everything that they've always wanted to kind of do, that they've been interested in and loved, so that they can say that they did it. And that's one heck of a life, because when you think about it, I always teach my students to live your dreams. You have this life, and if you have the mindset and you have the heart and you're ready to go, you have to chase your dreams. Otherwise, you're just going to live an ordinary life. And you're never going to really be happy, because ordinary life includes things always just being the same every single day, no excitement, maybe an adventure here or there. Whereas you could do so much with your life if in your heart you truly believe it and you go after it. And that's what these boys have done. And Logan will continue to do that as he continues to find new things that he can invest his heart in. And part of him, will never exclude his brother from his endeavors either, because again, Logan is all about family. This guy is all about, helping out his loved ones, and that includes Jake too. And so I think that right now where Logan is at is that a lot of the glitz and glamour of the industry are starting to really get to him. Money, fame, and what comes along with that behind the scenes. And that is going to eventually, bring him down a little bit as time goes by. These are two great and wonderful guys, but when you look at Logan compared to Jake, I see that Logan has this very sensitive heart, and he cares about people so much that, when something becomes a little bit overwhelming, that's going to be enough within that sensitivity level that he carries under the surface, that it will start to kind of break him down and mess with him after a period of time. I do see that there will be some financial trouble in the future for Logan Paul. And I also can see that there will come a time where he just comes to this dead end wall, this brick wall, where he doesn't really know what else to do or what's going to really be open and inviting to him to get involved in. Because like I said, a lot of the veterans, so to speak, within the WWE world don't take him seriously. They're not really going to take him seriously in other areas of the industry, but he's the type of person that's going to say, you don't take me serious, I'm going to make you take me serious. Watch what I can do. And that is, very, very inspiring, very, very motivational. But at the same time, there are things going on in his life that are limiting him from growing to that level of being able to invite that power within himself to really dominate that world, what he wants to do with it. And I believe that there are people around him that are deliberately making it that way for him, because they only want him to go where they want him to go. They want him to achieve to the level they want him to achieve. And that's holding him back to a great degree in which he probably doesn't even realize. And so the majority of it's just going to be working, and where he feels like he's working for himself, he's really not. He's working for someone else or others. And they're the ones that really have that control over his life. And once he starts to really realize that, I think that's when he's really going to take life by the reins. And we'll see him come to this place where he needs a rest. You won't hear too much about him by that time. But when he realizes that the rest is over, he needs to get back out there and build up that financial situation for himself again. That's when we're going to really see him coming out and wanting to present, new situations that he can get himself into out there that will bring his name back to everyone's mouth and get him back into that position to, financially support the people that he really is doing all of this for. So, what's going to happen to them ultimately? Because in the questions that I proposed within my story post on Instagram, I did say, like, who's going to be more successful later? Who's going to fall? Who might even pass on before the other within this duo of brothers? So, that's what I want to take a look at. I do see that Jake will kind of want to detach from anything that Logan's doing later, because like I said, there's always that shadow, and he's going to take a break also, but they won't do it like at the same time, because there's always going to be one of them out there working hard so that the other can kind of come back up anytime. And so with that, during that period of time that he is also taking his break, he's also going to probably, splurge, and the money's going to go down. He's going to want to come back up, with the funds again. And he's going to have new ideas of trying to market others. He's going to try to bring people in, put them out there so that there's always someone or something bringing in that revenue, and be a boss behind the scenes for a change rather than being at that forefront. And he's really trying to make the connections that he needs to do that. What I can see is that in terms of success, Logan is going to be the one that has more of the fame and being more well-liked, more respected by others, whereas Jake will have a little bit more power behind the scenes as he starts to try to accumulate that. Now, as far as the two brothers as who's going to pass on before the other, I'm going to say that it's going to definitely be, it's going to be Jake Paul that passes before Logan. And that'll be later on. Like I said, I don't want to go into a major amount of detail for that specifically, because that can be very chilling for people. But it'll definitely be Jake that finds himself, going down a certain pathway later, and that ends up taking him into the journey or path that leads to, later on moving on in his transition from this world. So that's kind of creepy and scary, and I know, I'm sorry, but I thought I would put it out there because it is kind of interesting, especially because they're always there together. Are they always going to be there? Who's going to exceed the other, and who's going to continue living when the other one isn't? I thought those were really good questions to mention today. So let's kind of run back with a very brief review. We have Jake Paul, who's always in the shadows, always trying to move forward. He always kind of has a security in fame because his brother's always out there. Very creative guy too, but really deep within his thoughts that he takes it too far at times, has this inner aggressive nature about him that comes out within the forms of recreation and escape and outlets of pushing that energy out, through sports as well, and the partying too. I see him as being someone that's going to eventually kind of fall back, take a little bit of time out, and then he'll come out trying to kind of do his own thing. That's not going to take him extremely far, but he will still have a good amount of fame and wealth. But in the end, it's going to be Logan that really, really grows. And he's going to also fall into some troubles, legal and financial as well. But he'll be able to bring himself back out of that as he continues to regain his footing after finding out who those people are that he can't trust, that he shouldn't have around him. And he takes full and utter control over his career and life himself. And that's when you'll see that he's doing his best. And when he's in a whole new area of his fame that works just for him. And then we'll see him continuing forward. And when they get a little older, that'll be where we just have kind of Logan left as time passes by and life does its thing. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I love you all so very much. These are two wonderful boys. They're fantastic. I think that they're just living their dreams, and everybody deserves to, but when you have people and things around you that aren't good, and you have people that aren't trustworthy, there's always that chance that it could eventually end what you've built, and you don't want that. And I think that's the reason why I really wanted to do this video, is because I want somehow for it to get out there that they should be very careful about the people that they have around them, find more trustworthy help, friends, and resources. And if they do, then the future can change and they can continue on this path of great fame together if they can take hold of their career paths themselves. Thank you so much. I love you all so very, very much. I hope that life is treating you kindly and that you'll return for the next video here at my channel. If you like the video, like it. If you want, you can also subscribe down below. And I'll talk to you all next time.